Every day we wake up and put on roles: a student, a worker, a parent, a friend. But beyond those titles, who are we really? Too often, we define ourselves by what others expect, not by what we truly believe. The journey to self-discovery isn't about finding something new. It's about uncovering what's always been there, our real identity buried under layers of fear, judgment, and comparison. The first and most essential step in figuring out who we really are begins with honesty. Not the kind we show others, but the kind we reveal only to ourselves. It requires us to look deep within, past the layers of identity we've built to please the world. Honesty is uncomfortable because it strips away the masks we wear every day. The image of success, the appearance of confidence, or the illusion of having it all together. And you've got to be there with all of us. To truly know ourselves, we must face the raw truth of our thoughts, our weaknesses, and our desires. It's not about judging what we find, but about recognizing what we've been hiding or avoiding. Self-discovery demands that we stop lying to ourselves about what makes us happy. Too often we chase careers, relationships, or lifestyles that others expect us to pursue. We convince ourselves that these choices define success, when in reality, they only distance us from our authentic purpose. Honesty helps us confront these false narratives. It teaches us that pretending to be someone else might earn us approval, but it will never bring fulfillment. Facing the truth means acknowledging where we've compromised our values, where we've ignored our intuition, and where we've silenced our real voice just to fit in. When we start being honest, we begin to see that the answers we've been searching for have always existed within us. This realization can be both liberating and terrifying. It means we must take responsibility for our own lives, our choices, and our growth. There's no one left to blame and no excuse left to hide behind. Yet, this is also where true strength lies. In owning who we are, flaws and all. The moment we choose honesty, we give ourselves permission to evolve. We stop running from our truth and instead begin to build a life that reflects it. True self-discovery is not a one-time revelation, but a continuous process of peeling away illusions. Every moment of honesty reveals another piece of our authentic self. It's about looking in the mirror and saying, "This is me." Not the version others expect, but the one that feels real and unfiltered. It takes courage to live with such transparency, but without it, we can never fully connect with ourselves or others. Honesty opens the door to authenticity, and only when that door is open can we begin to figure out who we really are. From the moment we are born, the world starts to shape us. Family expectations, cultural traditions, educational systems, and media all try to tell us who we should be. Society gives us labels: smart, beautiful, successful, or sometimes not enough. These labels may seem harmless at first, but over time they begin to dictate how we think, act, and dream. We start measuring our worth through external approval, believing that happiness comes from meeting someone else's definition of success. Yet, the truth is that no one outside of us can determine who we are meant to be. Our identity cannot be written by society's standards. It must be discovered from within. When we let society define us, we become prisoners of comparison. We start living lives that look good on the outside but feel empty on the inside. We chase trends, follow expectations, and silence our real voice to fit the mold. The pressure to conform is powerful. It convinces us that standing out is risky and that blending in is safer. But the cost of conformity is authenticity. Every time we choose to be what society wants, we drift further away from our true essence. We stop exploring our unique gifts and begin to wear identities that were never ours to begin with. Breaking free from society's definition of identity requires courage and awareness. It means questioning everything: the beliefs we were taught, the dreams we were handed, and the opinions that shaped us. It means asking, do I truly believe this? Or have I just been told to? This process can be uncomfortable because it often involves letting go of long-held ideas about success, love, and happiness. But in that discomfort lies transformation. Only when we strip away the false layers imposed by others can we begin to see the person we were always meant to be. The one who exists beyond approval, beyond judgment, and beyond comparison. True identity is not a reflection of how the world sees us, but a revelation of how we see ourselves. Society may try to mold us, but it cannot define the essence of our soul. The opinions of others are temporary. The truth of who we are is eternal. When we stop trying to please everyone and start honoring our own values, something powerful happens. We reclaim our individuality, we stop living by borrowed definitions and start creating our own. That is the moment when we begin to live authentically, free from the limitations of societal judgment and in harmony with the truth of our being. In a world obsessed with flawless appearances and constant validation, authenticity has become one of the rarest and most powerful forms of self-expression. From social media to everyday interactions, people are pressured to present only their best moments, the filtered smiles, the achievements, the victories. But behind every perfect image lies a human being with doubts, fears, and imperfections. The pursuit of perfection is endless and exhausting because it demands that we hide parts of ourselves that don't fit the ideal. Authenticity, however, invites us to be whole, to show both our light and our shadows without shame. It's not about pretending to be flawless, it's about being real enough to say, I'm still growing, and that's okay. When we choose authenticity over perfection, we give ourselves permission to be human. We stop performing for others and start living for ourselves. True authenticity means accepting that we will make mistakes, that we will have bad days, and that we will never have all the answers. It means being brave enough to show vulnerably instead of pretending to have everything under control. Ironically, it's in those moments of honesty that people connect with us most deeply. Others don't fall in love with our perfection. They resonate with our truth, our struggles, and our willingness to be real. That is the kind of connection perfection can never create. Perfection isolates us, but authenticity unites us. When we chase perfection, we become trapped in comparison, always looking at who's doing better, earning more, or appearing happier. It turns life into a competition that can never be won. Authenticity, on the other hand, frees us from that endless race. It allows us to define success on our own terms. Instead of living up to external expectations, we start aligning our actions with our values and our passions. That's when fulfillment begins. When we stop trying to impress and start trying to express. Perfection tells us to hide our flaws. Authenticity tells us to own them as part of our story. Living authentically takes courage in a world that rewards performance. It means standing firm in your truth, even when others misunderstand or criticize you. It's the quiet strength to say, this is who I am, without apology or pretense. Every time you choose authenticity, you reclaim a piece of your freedom. You stop living behind masks and start building real confidence. Not the fragile kind built on praise, but the deep kind built on self-acceptance. And while perfection may attract attention, authenticity earns respect. It allows you to live with peace, knowing that you no longer have to pretend to be anyone but yourself. Every struggle we face in life carries within it a hidden lesson, a quiet opportunity to become stronger, wiser, and more self-aware. Yet most of us spend our time running from pain, avoiding discomfort, and wishing life were easier. What we fail to see is that the very challenges we resist are often the ones that shape our character the most. Struggles test our patience, stretch our limits, and reveal our inner strength. When everything is easy, we remain the same. But when life becomes difficult, we are forced to grow, adapt, and evolve. Struggle is not a punishment. It's a form of preparation. A way the universe shapes us for the paths we are meant to walk. Growth does not happen in comfort zones. It happens in the moments that make us question ourselves, in the nights we cry alone, and in the failures that humble us. Every obstacle we encounter is an invitation to rise above what we once were. It's through the process of falling and getting back up that we discover resilience. the power to keep moving forward even when nothing seems certain. We learn more from pain than from pleasure because pain forces reflection. It teaches us to look inward, to find strength we never knew we had, and to rebuild from the pieces of what once broke us. The hardest seasons of our lives often become the foundations for our greatest growth. When we embrace struggle instead of resisting it, our mindset changes. We stop asking, why is this happening to me? And begin asking, what is this trying to teach me? That shift in perspective transforms suffering into purpose. It allows us to see setbacks not as endings, but as beginnings in disguise. Every challenge refines our values, tests our determination, and shapes our vision for the future. When we start to understand that struggle is part of progress, we stop fearing it. We start to trust that even in the chaos, there is a reason, a lesson, a breakthrough, a version of ourselves waiting to be revealed through perseverance. Embracing struggle means recognizing that growth is often uncomfortable. It requires patience, courage, and the willingness to face uncertainty. But with every hardship comes wisdom, and with every challenge comes transformation. The most beautiful things in life, strength, confidence, and understanding, are born from pain that once felt unbearable. When we choose to face our struggles head on, we stop seeing them as barriers and start seeing them as teachers. It's in the moments we thought we couldn't go on that we often discover who we truly are. And that realization becomes the most powerful form of growth we can ever experience. Every struggle we face in life carries within it a hidden lesson, a quiet opportunity to become stronger, wiser, and more self-aware. Yet most of us spend our time running from pain, avoiding discomfort, and wishing life were easier. What we fail to see is that the very challenges we resist are often the ones that shape our character the most. Struggles test our patience, stretch our limits, and reveal our inner strength. When everything is easy, we remain the same. But when life becomes difficult, we are forced to grow, adapt, and evolve. Struggle is not a punishment, it's a form of preparation. A way the universe shapes us for the paths we are meant to walk. Growth does not happen in comfort zones. It happens in the moments that make us question ourselves, in the nights we cry alone, and in the failures that humble us. Every obstacle we encounter is an invitation to rise above what we once were. It's through the process of falling and getting back up that we discover resilience. The power to keep moving forward even when nothing seems certain. We learn more from pain than from pleasure because pain forces reflection. It teaches us to look inward, to find strength we never knew we had, and to rebuild from the pieces of what once broke us. The hardest seasons of our lives often become the foundations for our greatest growth. When we embrace struggle instead of resisting it, our mindset changes. We stop asking, why is this happening to me? And begin asking, what is this trying to teach me? That shift in perspective transforms suffering into purpose. It allows us to see setbacks not as endings but as beginnings in disguise. Every challenge refines our values, tests our determination, and shapes our vision for the future. When we start to understand that struggle is part of progress, we stop fearing it. We start to trust that even in the chaos, there's a reason, a lesson, a breakthrough, a version of ourselves waiting to be revealed through perseverance. Embracing struggle means recognizing that growth is often uncomfortable. It requires patience, courage, and the willingness to face uncertainty. But with every hardship comes wisdom, and with every challenge comes transformation. The most beautiful things in life, strength, confidence, and understanding, are born from pain that once felt unbearable. When we choose to face our struggles head on, we stop seeing them as barriers and start seeing them as teachers. It's in the moments we thought we couldn't go on that we often discover who we truly are. And that realization becomes the most powerful form of growth we can ever experience. In today's world, noise surrounds us everywhere, not just the literal sounds of traffic, conversations, or notifications, but the mental noise of opinions, expectations, and judgments. We are constantly being told what to think, how to act, and who to be. Social media amplifies this chaos, bombarding us with the highlight reels of other people's lives, making it harder to hear our own inner voice. The constant comparison, the endless scrolling, and the need to be seen drown out the quiet whispers of our truth. To truly understand who we are, we must learn the art of silence. To step away from the world's distractions long enough to reconnect with ourselves. Silencing the noise is not about isolating ourselves from life. It's about creating inner stillness amidst the storm. It's about taking moments each day to pause, reflect, and listen to what our heart is trying to say. The answers we seek about purpose, direction, and identity rarely come through external voices. They emerge when we give ourselves space to breathe and think without influence. In silence, we begin to hear what truly matters, what feels right, and what aligns with our deepest values. It's in those quiet moments of solitude that clarity is born and confusion fades away. When we allow noise to dominate our lives, we become reactive instead of intentional. We make choices based on pressure, not passion. We say yes when we mean no, and we follow paths that lead us away from fulfillment. The voices of others, parents, peers, or society, start to shape our destiny without us even realizing it. But when we consciously turn down the volume of the world, we regain control of our narrative. We stop seeking validation and begin trusting our intuition. The silence we create becomes a sacred space where authenticity grows, guiding us toward the life we are meant to live. Learning to silence the noise also means setting boundaries. It means saying no to toxic influences, negative thoughts, and constant busyness. It requires discipline to disconnect from what drains us and reconnect with what restores us. The more we practice stillness, the stronger our self-awareness becomes. We begin to realize that the voice we were searching for, the one that tells us who we truly are, was never missing. It was simply buried under too much noise. By quieting the external world, we allow our inner world to speak. And in that sacred silence, we discover our truest self, waiting patiently to be heard. There comes a time in everyone's life when standing alone becomes the only way to stand at all. It's easy to blend in with the crowd, to follow the current of what's popular or accepted, but true courage is revealed when we choose to walk a path that others may not understand. Standing alone doesn't always mean isolation. It means having the strength to hold on to your beliefs, values, and truth, even when no one else agrees. The world often celebrates conformity, but the ones who make real change are those who dare to be different. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's the decision to move forward despite it, knowing that authenticity may cost you comfort, but it will never cost you your soul. When we choose to stand alone, we face the uncomfortable silence of independence. There's no applause, no reassurance, no validation. Only the quiet confidence that comes from staying true to ourselves. It's a test of self-trust. Because when the voices of others fade, we are left with only our own. That's when we discover what we truly believe, what we're willing to fight for, and who we really are. The fear of being misunderstood or rejected can be paralyzing, but it's also a necessary part of growth. Every great thinker, artist, or leader has faced this same solitude, standing firm in their convictions long before the world caught up. Standing alone also teaches us the power of resilience. When we no longer depend on others for approval, we learn to rely on our own strength. We realize that validation is fleeting, but self-respect is lasting. This courage transforms us from followers into leaders. Not necessarily leaders of others, but leaders of ourselves. Each time we choose integrity over acceptance, we build character. Each time we walk away from what doesn't align with our truth, we reclaim a piece of our freedom. Ikadayuji Harachi kol, beauty, dhamma. We stay through Archu. It's not easy to be the only one who sees things differently. But that's what sets apart those who live with purpose from those who live by imitation. The courage to stand alone is the foundation of authenticity. It's about having the confidence to say, I don't need everyone to agree with me for me to know who I am. It's realizing that solitude isn't loneliness. It's space for self-discovery. When we dare to stand apart, we stop fearing judgment and start valuing our individuality. The journey may be lonely at times, but it is in that very solitude that we gain clarity, strength, and peace. Standing alone refines us. It teaches us independence, humility, and the importance of walking in alignment with our truth. No matter how many people choose to walk the other way, acceptance is one of the greatest acts of self-love we can ever practice. It means embracing every part of ourselves, the strengths that make us proud and the flaws that make us human. Too often, we spend our lives wishing we were someone else, comparing our journey to others and measuring our worth against unrealistic standards. But real peace begins when we stop fighting who we are. So acceptance doesn't mean giving up or settling. It means seeing ourselves clearly, without distortion, and recognizing that we are enough as we are. When we stop judging our past and start learning from it, we create space for healing, growth, and genuine happiness. Many people live trapped inside invisible prisons built from self-criticism and regret. They replay their mistakes, carry guilt for things they cannot change, and constantly strive to meet impossible expectations. Acceptance is the key that unlocks those prison doors. It teaches us to look at our imperfections not as failures, but as teachers. Every scar, every flaw, every misstep holds a story that shaped who we are today. When we learn to embrace those parts of ourselves with compassion, we stop living in resistance. We begin to understand that self-acceptance isn't arrogance. It's liberation from the constant need to be perfect. Acceptance also extends beyond ourselves. It's about accepting life as it is. Unpredictable, messy, and ever-changing. When we resist reality, we create suffering. But when we learn to flow with it, we find balance. Life will never be free of challenges, disappointments, or loss. But acceptance allows us to face them with grace rather than fear. It reminds us that peace is not found in control, but in surrender. In trusting that even when things don't go our way, they are still guiding us towards something meaningful. The more we practice acceptance, the less power circumstances have over our emotions. We stop being victims of what happens to us and start becoming creators of how we respond. Ultimately, acceptance frees us from the weight of pretending. It allows us to show up authentically, to love without conditions, and to live without constant comparison. When we accept ourselves, we stop needing to prove our worth to anyone. We stop chasing approval because we finally understand that nothing external can complete what was already whole within us. Acceptance is not the end of growth, it's the beginning of transformation. It's the point where we make peace with our past, appreciate our present, and open ourselves to the limitless possibilities of who we can still become. In the end, the journey of figuring out who we really are is not about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who we've always been, beneath the expectations, fears, and doubts. It's about peeling back every layer that the world has placed upon us and standing proudly in our truth. Self-discovery is not a destination to reach, but a lifelong process of learning, unlearning, and evolving. Each moment of honesty, each act of courage, each acceptance of our flaws brings us closer to our authentic self. When we finally understand that our worth was never tied to perfection or approval, we begin to live differently. We stop rushing, comparing, and apologizing for being who we are. We start speaking our truth with confidence and loving ourselves with compassion. The freedom that comes from self acceptance is unmatched. It allows us to live fully, love deeply, and walk through life with unshakable peace. So, as we continue to grow, let us remember that the greatest victory is not in becoming someone else's idea of success, but in becoming the truest version of ourselves. The world doesn't need more people who are perfect, it needs more people who are real. Because when you finally figure out who you are and choose to live that truth unapologetically, you don't just change your life, you inspire others to do the same.